DMA will be a device, it will be a peripheral device, interfacing device, which will be used to transfer the bulk data from memory to memory or memory to I. In some special application, whenever the requirement of the CPU is to transfer the bulk data from one memory to another memory, or one memory to IO, or IO to memory, then what the normal sequence of execution will be there for a processor? Processor will read the data from one memory bank and then it will transfer to the another memory, or it will read the data from the IO and will transfer the data to the memory, or will read the data from the memory and will transfer to the IO. In other words, if the bulk data will have to be transferred from one source to the another, and if we will involve the processor or CPU to perform this task, then what will happen? Processor will waste its much time just to transfer the data. And DMA is a special control unit which used to transfer a bulk data or a block of data directly between the IO and memory, and it will bypass the processor as well. If we will consider over here, it is a control unit, but this is not a processor, because it is not having its own data and address buses. It will use the address, data and buses of the CPU. By using the address, data and buses of the CPU, it will perform some special or specific operation to transfer the bulk or block data between IO and memory on the behalf of the processor. Now, is the DMA is capable enough to do all those things? Do the DMA is having some sort of instructions? No. The DMA is not having its own instruction set. It will, the processor will be used to initialize the process of DMA. Once DMA will be initialized by the CPU, and when CPU will give the indication, when CPU will give the control of all address and data buses of the CPU, then only it will establish the direct link between the IO to memory, memory to IO, memory to IO, or memory to memory. So the DMA, in other words, we can say that the DMA is a control unit, is a controlling unit which used to perform the bulk data from one source, it may be IO or it may be memory, to another source, it may be memory or it may be IO. Okay. Now in this particular slide, we will try to understand how the DMA or direct memory access will establish the link, how the data will be transferred. So DMA can, as we know that the DMA can transfer a block of data from IO to processor. It can also transfer the data block of data from IO to processor, processor to IO, IO to memory, memory to IO, without any intervention of the processor. So it will bypass the processor and will establish the direct link between the source and destination, and the effective speed of this type of data transfer will be high as compared to the if we will involve the processor, because if we will involve the processor to transfer such type of bulk data from memory, one memory bank to another memory bank, then what processor will do? It will first of all read the data from the source and will get it to the processor, and then processor will write the data to the another memory bank or to the IO. So it will consume more than one cycle to perform or to transfer the one word from source to the destination. So to perform such type of task, DMA will be used to perform the different application. So now, how DMA will perform its operation? To perform the operation for the DMA, processor will have to load, to initialize or to initiate the DMA, to make it ready so it will be able to transfer the data from source to destination. It will be responsibility of the processor to load all the information related to the transformation of the data, such as what will be the starting address, from where it will have to read the data, what will be the address of the source, from where it will have to start to transfer the bulk data from source to destination. Then second is how many words will have to be transferred, what will be the total data capacity which it will have to transfer from the source to the destination. Then what will be the direction of the transfer. Here the meaning of the direction of the transfer is either the data will be transferred from memory to memory, or memory to IO, or IO to memory. So direction of the transformation of the data will also be decided by the or loaded by the processor. And what type of mode, in which mode the data will have to be transferred. So many DMAs are available in the market, and different DMAs are working on different modes of transfer as well. Okay, so the selection of mode, direction of the transfer, how many words are to be transferred, what will be the starting address, all these things will be initialized or initially loaded within the DMA by the processor. Now, what is there within the DMA in which all these information will have to be stored? The DMA is having its own register bank, and there are so many registers within the DMA which are used to store all these informations. DMA is also having the different channels as well. So each and every channel is working independently, and every channel has its own register bank to store this type of information: starting address, number of words have to be transferred, what will be the direction of the transfer, mode of transfer. Okay, so other than this, some common registers are also there. We are not going to discuss the detail of the internal registers of the DMA, but just to take the overview, some common registers are also there which are used to set the priority, what will be the size of the word. All these things will be decided by some centralized registers of the DMA controller. Okay, so once the process of the DMA will be completed, then it will inform the processor by raising the interrupt signal. So once the processor will receive the interrupt signal raised by the DMA, it means now the process, whatsoever the process DMA want to perform is over. Then the processor will resume the control of its data, address, and control message. Okay, so now we will try to understand the operation of the DMA with the CPU with the help of this particular diagram. If we look at this particular diagram, then we can see that almost all the basic units of the computer are shown over here, and these basic computer units are CPU, memory, although random access memory is shown over here, but it is memory, and peripheral devices. What will be the normal interfacing diagram of the CPU? CPU normally will be directly interfaced with the memory, and can also be interfaced with the IO through the interrupt and polling as well. But now we are discussing the third method, DMA. What will be the interfacing diagram of the DMA? How the IO peripheral devices will be interfaced with the CPU with the help of DMA. So this is a DMA controller. It is a controlling unit which will be used to control the specific application to transfer the bulk data. Okay, so this peripheral device will be connected to the DMA. Whenever this peripheral device wants to transfer the bulk data from or to the memory, will send its request through a line called DMA request. Once DMA controller will receive the DMA request sent by this particular IO peripheral device, what this DMA controller will do, will check the priority of this particular peripheral device, either this device is masked or not masked. If everything will be okay, the things will be streamlined, then what it will do, the DMA controller will send a control signal to the CPU through a control line called bus request. as we have already discussed that the DMA controller is not having its own set of buses, so it will have to send the request to the CPU to use the buses of the CPU to perform the bulk data transfer between the source and destination. Okay, so once it will receive, the CPU will receive the request from the DMA, and once it will decide that I will have to grant the bus control to the DMA, it will send a control signal to the DMA in the form of bus grant. Okay, meanwhile it will send this bus grant. It will be responsibility of the programmer, or it will be responsibility of the CPU to initialize the different addresses of source, destination, how much data will have to be transferred, what will be the size of the data word which will be transferred from the source to destination. All these things will be set or initialized for the DMA by the CPU, and these things will be done by doing what? By using the programming, and this will be the responsibility of the programmer to do all these things. Once all these things will be initialized, all the starting addresses, number of words, mode of operation, everything will be set or initialized within the DMA controller. Then the control signal bus grant will be released by the CPU, and once DMA will receive the bus grant signal from the CPU, now it will be ready to transfer or establish the direct link between the source and destination. Say I want to transfer or receive the data from this RAM. Once the bus grant signal will be received by the DMA, it will establish the direct link between this particular source and destination. So direct data will move, you can see. So here in this particular case, there is no indirect or indirect involvement of the CPU while transferring the bulk data from source to destination. So if the direct link will be established between the source and destination, then a data will be transferred at high speed. Okay, so all these buses will go into the tri-state buses, means it will move to the high impedance mode. Then the total control will be total control of address, data and control buses will be in the hand of DMA. So DMA will transfer or receive the data from source to destination. Once the whole data will be transferred as per the settings of the within the DMA, then what DMA will do? DMA will send a interrupt signal to the CPU, and which will be the indication to the CPU that is the whatsoever the data will have to be transferred by the DMA controller have already been transferred from the source to destination. Once CPU will receive the signal, then it will resume the control of address, data and control lines, which was earlier handed over to the DMA. So once the CPU will resume the control of ADC, means address, data and control lines, then it will start its own operation, it will start its own function. So this is all about how the DMA will be able to transfer or receive the data from or to one source, either it is memory or IO, to destination, either it is memory or IO. Okay, so this is all about how we can transfer the data from bulk data from one source to the another destination by using DMA controller.